All right, we're all talking about it because everybody except for me got to go see the Last Waltz the other night.
That's true.
I had to stay and work, unfortunately. No one let me go out.
No.
But that's the nature of things. So we're talking about 10 things that you probably didn't know about the Last Waltz, and we're crediting this all to a great article we read by CBC Music.
Yep.
And we thought it was just funny and cool that we learned a lot of stuff. So check out the original article. Much more informative than our blathering, but we might sort of like help fill in just some blanks. We just think it's that because I grew up watching this movie multiple times.
Did you always watch it on Thanksgiving?
No.
That's a relatively new thing that I realized. Oh, that was on Thanksgiving, and we watch it on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing until I was a grown man.
But it's a thing.
Our local theaters did it every year. But I was like, oh, okay, cool. But it's a great, it's the band's last show. But we'll get into some of the little facts maybe.
Tidbits.
So number one I thought was pretty fascinating. These tickets to this concert were $25 a piece, which sounds like nothing today, right? But back then that was expensive. Really expensive.
I think, what did we say? The average ticket price was $4 to $7 back then.
I think I paid like $6 to see the Connells in the 90s. But at Hardy's Walnut Creek Amphitheater.
Yeah. No. But I mean, and they didn't just get a show though.
What'd they get, Johnny?
They got Thanksgiving dinner with all the fixins.
So Thanksgiving dinner for 5,000 of your closest friends and family.
Right. What did they? It was like how many thousand pounds of turkey? A lot of turkey.
It reminds me of whenever I go to, Pirates Voyage or at Myrtle Beach or like the medieval times. How many chicken legs? How many chickens do those places go through a night? 2 show times? Oh, just this is worse though, I guess, because maybe there's not 5,000 people at medieval times. But that's a lot of freaking. So it was a meal. It was a Last Supper. Was sort of the idea.
It was.
What it was. So that's number one. Number two, nobody knew the secret guest.
That kind of blows my mind. So they paid all this money, a fortune back in the 70s. And that's a lot. It was coming on. It was.
I mean, and you got everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
it's awesome. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, it's true.
But no, that's kind of neat that it was a secret. So jump into number 3. Give me number 3 if you can.
Number 3.
Oh, this was the White Room.
The White Room. So they apparently they asked Robbie Robertson what they should do backstage, sort of or what movie the crew should watch to get them in the mood.
Of course, The Blood of a Poet. Famous Jean Cocteau.
By my favorite filmmaker. No, I've never heard this person.
Jean Cocteau.
No. But yeah, so it was all white with glass tables and little razor blades. I don't know what they were doing with the razor blades and
cocaine.
The glass tables. Oh, yeah.
Lots and lots of cocaine. They said the noise from the clinking on the glass table, you could hear that all backstage. Which, everything about that just sounds great to me. And then,
what do you mean backstage?
That leads directly into number 4, Neil Young's Cocaine Booger.
You can see it. It's there. They say that they edited it to remove it, and I'm sure they did, but it's still, there's one scene where it is particularly visible.
It's kind of disgusting. But he's just so excited to be there, I thought. He's just this happy man.
It's the happiest I've ever seen Neil Young. I forgot when we watched it this past Thanksgiving, which was last week from when we shot this video. He walks out, he's like a little kid on Christmas. He's just like...
the shakes are just subsiding. He's going to go. And so number 5 directly connects with that as well, because Joni Mitchell did some surprise vocals backstage.
Yeah, she did. Well, and you know what? I always have wondered sort of why she's backstage, because she comes out on stage later, and she didn't want to ruin the surprise.
Which is kind of awesome.
It is awesome.
And you got to remember, this is the height of these guys' fame, their young fame.
But I mean, God, it's a pretty phenomenal Neil Young performance with those guys. It's pretty awesome.
I think number 6 might be my favorite. So,
number 6 is your
the fact that Neil Diamond was even there is sort of a shocking moment. But then his strange interaction with Dylan, because Neil Diamond just wasn't. He sort of represents the Tin Pan Alley
songwriter kind of thing.
And then
Which is cool.
I think he's walking off stage and goes, "Follow that," and then he's like, then Bob Dylan's
to Bob Dylan.
To Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan's like, "What am I supposed to go out there and fall asleep?" And it's like, oh, burn. It's a good
I mean, the fact that Neil Diamond was like, I'm such a badass. How is anyone gonna follow this? That's the part that I just think is funny.
Well, because Neil Diamond, he does that show, and he does a great show, but it's more of a Vegas show.
But he doesn't in this. It's like him playing an ovation, and I just don't understand. I mean, it's good. At our theater where we were at Sunrise, everyone took a bathroom break for Neil Diamond.
Now, number 7 is the one that you actually disagree with. because so the production there's running over, so they're gonna say we got to cut somebody, and Jonathan's like, this is the perfect artist to cut.
Got to cut Muddy Waters, for God's sake. Oh my God! But apparently they almost did, except for
who
Levon was like, you guys are fools. I believe he said that he and Muddy would go do the Last Waltz in New York by themselves.
And that would be no good for Robbie. That would be no good.
God, why can you imagine if they had cut Muddy Waters?
Yeah, because I think it's such a magical moment to have him on film, the Scorsese treatment, you know.
Well, you can tell how much Levon loves that blues and like that Memphis and Arkansas, that kind of. You can just tell in his part where he's being interviewed in the film how much he loves that. So,
number 8's Dylan steals the show, literally. He well, not really, but his management. Because Dylan had a movie coming out too, which I think just came out in 2018. His like Rolling Thunder thing.
The Rolling Thunder review, yeah.
Yeah, but it was just funny. It was like they were working on that, and so they wanted to. So they took the masters. And wouldn't
the actual tape.
Yeah, it's like which wasn't a hard drive. It was just the tape, like the physical reel of this movie, and sort of held it until they were okay with, like, they didn't want Dylan to be in it too much because they wanted to sort of save. So they wanted to make sure the cuts were made where Dylan wasn't as prominent as he could have been featured. Because again, you got to remember Dylan was the man back then.
Right, that's true.
Okay,
that is true. Obviously, they gave it back because they made the movie.
So number 9, why don't you lead us about this? Our guy, somebody didn't like The Last Waltz at all.
A fairly important character. So Leon Helm didn't actually dig it at all. He kind of hated it, thought it was like a vanity project. And then obviously there was some contention because Robbie Robertson's the only person who received royalties from the actual film.
And when you say that, it sounds like Robbie Robertson's such a bastard, and like, how could he do that?
Maybe he is.
There's two camps, but he's the one who fronted it with his money.
I think he put up his own money, and I think he's the producer. Yeah,
he produced it. Like, it's like it could have been a complete waste of money. He's renting out this venue.
So yeah, it sounds like he's the one who had the skin in the game. So maybe that's right. You know, I don't know. I know that some of the things I follow online, the sort of fans or people who are fanatics about the band, there seems to be like a Levon and the rest of the band sort of camp, and then the camp. But I don't know. People who know more about it, tell us in the comments.
When I feel like there's so much time has been separate, I just look at it all as the band now. I know like they had the rift, and that kind of leads us into...
The combination of them is magical. You can't really deny that.
Because what was that quote? Bluegrass, this is from our man, bluegrass or country music, if it comes down to that area and mixes with the rhythm, and if it dances, then you've got a combination of all those different kinds of music. What's it called then? It's obvious, man. Rock and roll.
That is the best sort of like one-liner in the movie.
So even though he hated it, like, he got the quote.
Yeah.
Like, that's what and like in his songs, like this, the way he sings, unreal. That leads us into number 10, the next waltz. So this wasn't supposed to be the end of the band.
No.
It was supposed to, they're supposed to sort of develop into the Beatles and be a recording band only.
Right. It was just going to be the end of their road life, of them touring. That's, I love the band. Probably more than anyone in the shop. However, to be like, hey, we're just like the Beatles. We'll just record records. I don't know. Maybe a stretch.
Well, and we were talking about that for a bit too with Sean and the whole gang up there. It's like, well, like, I mean, I feel like the band like would have been more important if they would have kept touring.
Oh God,
like,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
because
they'd be more iconic right now.
You know, where they do kind of like, it can fall with something. Don't get angry with me, but they can fit in that camp with a lot of like non-fans, like with like Three Dog Night, and sort of sit in that sort of world of that sort of 70s rock band.
Well, like to me,
the import of what they did.
To me, the band is huge. My wife did not know who the band was, way back when.
God, mine probably didn't either.
And I mean, I think a lot of people, you're like, the band, they have a vague idea. They think it's odd that there's a band called The Band.
Which is a great name.
Yeah, they know the Wait, but they don't know it's called The Wait. They're like, oh yeah, the Annie song, or Fanny. Take a load off Fanny. But they sit in that sort of weird space where they are super famous, but they're not.
Well, when Robbie went and he rented all, he had this great studio time set for the band. They're going to finish up some recordings. Crickets.
No one showed up.
No one showed up. It was sort of a sad moment. And so, again, thank you for tuning in. We thought this was fascinating. Thanksgiving just happened. The holiday seasons are upon us. If you haven't checked out the band, and thanks to CBC Music for this article, we really enjoyed it.
We did.
It was fun to read, and we were laughing as we read through it, and had a good time just thinking about all the shenanigans of, just Neil Diamond and Bob Dylan fighting.
I would like to see them like have it out, fisticuffs.
Neil Diamond would kill Bob Dylan.
That's probably true. I don't know.
No, Neil Diamond was tough.
I don't know, man.
Dude, he
Bob
needs
Dylan
kung fu.
Did he?
In my mind, he does at least.
Like Tom Waits knows kung fu.
Tom Waits kills them all.
Yeah.
Because he's in.
He says in that song.
He's just awesome. It's Tom Waits.
Right.
Yeah, down like this, and he gets you down. I love me some Tom Waits.
You would.
The song he did in the film Basquiat is one of my favorite movie song moments. There's a few out there, but that one's just Tom Waits.
That's the one.
It is. It's one of those moments. So you know it if you've seen the film Basquiat, brilliant film. And I was just watching Catching Fire last night, where the
Another brilliant film.
which I love, the Hunger Games saga. I do. I love. No, but the character who played Basquiat is in Catching Fire as a grown man now because he was a young artist. And Basquiat's great. It's got
Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz is in it as well. He meets an unfortunate demise.
Yeah, it didn't go well for him.
But that's great. It's a great moment, though. My wife starts getting almost teary-eyed.
The man makes a great dress, though. I'll tell you
He
that.
does. Oh, the girl's on fire. I can't, whenever I hear that, I don't think of, the song. This girl is on, I can't stand that song for some reason. I don't know why. It's just it's a weird melody. It just doesn't work. Anyway, that's the guy. So if you like Catching Fire, you might like the movie Basquiat. Same actor. He's also in Westworld, season 1.
There you go.
Okay, sorry. The dots connected. Just didn't, click like and subscribe.
Hit the bell. If you want to go read the article, links in the description. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.